The soul. The next question, of course, naturally would be, what is the soul? We cannot understand God in our scriptures without knowing the soul. There have been attempts in India and outside of India too to catch a glimpse of the beyond by studying external nature, and we all know what an awful failure has been the result. Instead of giving us a glimpse of the beyond, the more we study the material world, the more we tend to become materialized. The more we handle the material world, even the little spirituality which we possessed before vanishes. Therefore, that is not the way to spirituality, to knowledge of the highest, but it must come through the heart, the human soul. The external workings do not teach us anything about the beyond, about the infinite. It is only the internal that can do so. Through soul, therefore, the analysis of the human soul alone can we understand God. There are differences of opinion as to the nature of the human soul among the various sects in India, but there are certain points of agreement. We all agree that souls are without beginning and without end, and immortal by their very nature. Also, that all powers, blessing, purity, omnipresence, omniscience are buried in each soul. That is a grand idea we ought to remember. In every man and in every animal, however weak or wicked, great or small, resides the same omnipresent, omniscient soul. The difference is not in the soul, but in the manifestation. Between me and the smallest animal, the difference is only in manifestation. But as a principle, he is the same as I am. He is my brother. He has the same soul as I have. This is the greatest principle that India has preached. The talk of the brotherhood of man becomes in India the brotherhood of universal life, of animals, and of all life down to the little ants. All these are our bodies. Even as our scripture says, thus the sage, knowing that the same Lord inhabits all bodies, will worship every body as such. That is why in India there have been such merciful ideas about the poor, about animals, about everybody and everything else. This is one of the common grounds about our ideas of the soul. Naturally, we come to the idea of God. One thing more about the soul. Those who study the English language are often deluded by the words soul and mind. Our Atman and soul are entirely different things. What we call manas, the mind, the Western people call soul. The West never had the idea of soul until they got it through Sanskrit philosophy some 20 years ago. The body is here, beyond that is the mind, yet the mind is not the Atman. It is the fine body, the Sukshma Sharira, made of fine particles, which goes from birth to death, and so on. But behind the mind is the Atman, the soul, the self of man. It cannot be translated by the word soul or mind, so we have to use the word Atman, or as Western philosophers have designated it, by the word self. Whatever word you use, you must keep it clear in your mind that the Atman is separate from the mind as well as from the body, and that this Atman goes through birth and death, accompanied by the mind, the Sukshma Sharira. And when the time comes that it has attained to all knowledge and manifested itself to perfection, then this going from birth to death ceases for it. Then it is at liberty either to keep that mind, the Sukshma Sharira, or to let it go forever and remain independent and free throughout all eternity. The goal of the soul is freedom. That is one peculiarity of our religion. We also have heavens and hells too, but these are not infinite, for in the very nature of things they cannot be. If there were any heavens, there would be only repetitions of this world, of ours, on a bigger scale, with a little more happiness and a little more enjoyment, but that is all the worse for the soul. There are many of these heavens, persons who do good work here, with a thought of reward, when they die, are born again as gods in one of these heavens, as Indra and others. These gods are the names of certain states. They also had been men, and by good work they have become gods. And those different names that you read of, such as Indra and so on, are not the names of the same person. There will be thousands of Indras. Nahusha was a great king, and when he died, he became Indra. It is a position. One soul becomes high and takes the Indra position and remains in it only a certain time. He then dies and is born again as man. But the human body is the highest of all. Some of the gods may try to go higher and give up all ideas of enjoyment in heavens. But, as in this world, wealth and position and enjoyment delude the vast majority. So do most of the gods become deluded also, and after working out their good karma, they fall down and become human beings again. This earth, therefore, is the karma bhumi. It is this earth from which we attain to liberation. So even these heavens are not worth attaining to. What is then worth having? Mukti, freedom. Even in the highest of heavens, says our scripture, you are a slave. What matters it if you are a king for 20,000 years? So long as you have a body, so long as you are a slave to happiness, so long as time works on you, space works on you, you are a slave. The idea, therefore, is to be free of external and internal nature. Nature must fall at your feet, and you must trample on it and be free and glorious by going beyond. No more is there life. Therefore, no more is there death. No more enjoyment. Therefore, no more misery. It is bliss unspeakable, indestructible, beyond everything. What we call happiness and good here are but particles of that eternal bliss, and this eternal bliss is our goal.